7 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. God, the morning is just flying by, huh? There was a story, I think it was just yesterday, wasn't it? This collie dog was going to be put down. The dog had become first lethargic and then basically paralyzed, and they were going to put it down, and a student looking into the dog's fur, I guess preparing the dog for euthanasia, right? Is that what they call it in the dog world?
Yeah.
Sad. And I only know because your daughter works in dogs, in veterinary. But anyway, so the student found a tick under the fur. And the student had learned something about how this... Anyway, long story short, they shaved the dog basically from the neck down to the tail just to see any other ticks were there, removed them all, and you know what happened? The dog recovered. The dog was like 14 years old, too, by the way.
Yeah, that's an amazing story.
Wasn't a young dog. So the dog's owner, of course, felt like it was a miracle. And you just never know what can happen from a tick. One of the things we always associate with ticks is Lyme disease.
Yes.
Dr. Kenneth B. Liegner is on the phone. He's a board-certified internist. He holds the first U.S. patent proposing application of, and here's the word I don't know how to pronounce, I'm going to give it a shot, acaricide or something. It's for deer, for area-wide control of deer tick populations. I'm getting itchy just talking about it.
I know.
To reduce Lyme disease. We got a lot of deer in the Ocala National Forest. I don't know anything about. I'm scratching everywhere. I don't know anything about Lyme disease or about ticks in Florida, but I know they're there because when I go walking, for example, over in Juniper Springs, I always come home with ticks.
Yeah, always.
As hard as I try, I put off on and everything, and I still find ticks. The book he has written is. It's like War and Peace. It's gigantic.
Yes.
It is called In the Crucible of Chronic Lyme Disease. It is a collection of writings and associated materials to help us understand this disease and his compassion for doing something about it. Dr. Kenneth Liegner, good morning, sir. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're welcome. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from my office, which is in Pawling, New York, Pawling, Pawling, New York, in Dutchess County.
Okay.
Heart of darkness for Lyme disease.
So tell me about Lyme disease. Is it everywhere in the country?
It is everywhere. I believe every single state in the union it's been identified.
Yeah, Robin was telling me your sister-in-law?
Yes.
Robin's sister-in-law had this disease.
Yeah, that was not good.
So is it only transferred by ticks?
That seems to be the most overwhelming, source of Lyme. But it can be it potentially can be transmitted from mother to fetus. Theoretically, it could be transmissible through blood transfusion because the Borrelia has been shown to be able to survive in banked blood.
Really?
I'm not actually aware of any definite reported cases of transfusion-associated Lyme disease, although there are many cases of babesiosis that is transfusion-associated, and that's very, very serious.
And what is that? What's that word you just said, babesiosis?
Babesiosis, that's named after a gentleman by the name of Howard Babes, B-A-B-E-S, and he's the one who discovered this malaria-like parasite in ticks, and it inhabits the red blood cells, and it is also another so-called infection or so-called co-infection of Lyme that is transmissible by many ticks, including the same tick that can transmit Lyme disease, and it's not that uncommon for people to acquire more than one tick-borne disease from a tick bite. Okay, so now I am very limited in my knowledge of any of this stuff, but let me use my own experience and ask a question based on that. As I mentioned in the intro, I can take a walk through there's a place around here called Juniper Springs. It's a nice place to walk, and it's in the Ocala National Forest. Inevitably, I'll come back with ticks. I never once saw a deer. And I'm assuming that if the deer carries the Lyme disease and gives it to the tick, that the only way the tick can give it to me is if it jumps off the deer and somehow finds me. Am I right about that? Well, first of all, The deer, the thing that's important about deer, and I'm talking about, I don't know exactly what the ecology is in Ocala, but in the Northeast, the importance of the deer is not so much that the deer transmits Lyme to the ticks, because the ticks mostly get the Lyme from small mammals like mice and chipmunks, but it's the deer upon which the deer-tick mates. So at any given time, like in the Northeast during hunting season, when they bag a deer, find upwards of 500 ticks attached to the deer, and when the female deer ticks, so that the ticks mate on the deer, and then when the adult females get their blood meal and drop to the forest floor, each of those adult females will lay something like 2,500 to 3,500 eggs, and each of those eggs will hatch into a larva. So a single deer at a single point in time can be responsible for several million deer ticks.
Oh, wow. Okay, wow. And so the only place they can mate is on the deer?
Well, I wouldn't say it's the only place, but it's the preferred host of the deer tick. But also, another name for the deer tick, for interest, is the bear tick. So other large mammals also can host the
So what is a saricide or a caricide? What pronounce it if you wouldn't mind, and then what is it?
You had it exactly right. It's Larry, right?
Yeah, Larry.
You had it right, a caricide. Well, a caricide is just anything that kills ticks. At the time that I proposed my patent, which was back in the early 90s, I was thinking of chemical acaricides. So there's certain chemicals that kill ticks. But since that time, people are studying biologic acaricides. There's a fungus, Metarrhiza anisopoli, that will actually reproduce on the chitin or the surface of the tick and tick. So in other words, there are acaricides that are not chemicals, and people are exploring these biologic means of controlling ticks.
And is that something you developed that yourself then, right? It sounds like?
Well, I developed the concept of targeting deer as a means of controlling populations of deer ticks over large geographic areas. And actually, other people have, perhaps somewhat stimulated by that patent, maybe they were working on it independently, have developed other approaches that target deer, and that actually they've been pretty successful. There's something called the four-poster that the USDA Agricultural Research Service designed that attracts deer with corn, and when they try to feed, they have rollers that are with a chemical acaricide. When the deer goes back and forth to get corn, the rollers smear the neck with this acaricide, and those have been shown to reduce deer tick populations in geographic areas by, I think it's something like 90 to 95. Yeah.
So is there any? There's no political challenges for you. There's no legislation that says you can't do this. I mean, what are the problems you're running into?
Well, first of all, it's not my patent. It's another device, but the concept is the same. As a matter of fact, there's been the people who developed that, the Agricultural Research Service and other entomologists. They're very well connected. They are very well known. They know people at the NIH. They've had incredible obstacles to get these things deployed that are political in nature, regulatory in nature. The New York State, DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, put up all kinds of obstacles. It was very, very difficult, but they have been deployed in selected areas, and they've been relatively successful. And the problem is getting them widely deployed, getting them funded, and also developing additional types of methods that could target deer. And I would favor what they used to call mine the deer gazebo or the deer car wash. The idea was to attract deer with a salt lick. Well, in New York State, there's a law. You can't use a salt lick to attract deer, But
really?
That doesn't require corn. And corn, it attracts the deer, but it also increases the deer population. So I think there could be other approaches, and I think these non-chemical approaches should be considered, like the
through all of your research, you brought up the word amoxicillin with the different papers that you have strewn throughout your book. And I know when my children were little, and if they had an infection, the doctor would prescribe amoxicillin. I didn't realize this was for a variety of things.
Well, amoxicillin is one of the first-line oral antibiotics that is effective against Lyme disease.
And that is really fascinating.
All right, let's take a little break and be right back. The phone has been ringing, so if you don't mind, we can take some phone calls as well. Dr. Kenneth Liegner is on the phone up in Pauling, New York, not too far away from where I grew up. It sounds like I wasn't sure where it was. I had to do a quick look. The book is called "In the Crucible of Chronic Lyme Disease." I think this is a book you would definitely appreciate. It's different than most books. It's got a lot of published papers in it, published letters.
Interesting.
And it helps us understand this topic a lot better. And we've got so many more questions. Plus, your phone calls are welcome. The number is 622-9622. We will be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Bright and sunny today, a high of 83 to 87, and clear tonight, a low 62 to 70. Partly sunny tomorrow, a high of 83 to 87 again. It'll be humid and partly sunny with a shower thunderstorm Saturday, the high 85 to 89. Afternoon thunderstorm Sunday, most of the days partly sunny, high of 87 to 91. A few showers and thunderstorms around on Memorial Day. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Are you in need of custom screen printing, embroidery, or promotional items? Then look no further and come visit the brand new Legacy Team Sales. LTS is conveniently located off 17th Street next to Armstrong Homes in beautiful Ocala. We offer the best prices and highest quality products for your company, team, school, or nonprofit. Whether looking for screen printed shirts, embroidered polos, or travel team uniforms, you'll be sure to find it at Legacy Team Sales. Come visit our new 27,000 square foot facility. Our friendly and knowledgeable sales staff will assist you in every part of your custom purchase. LTS carries the hottest brands in the industry like Under Armour, Russell, Mizuno, Asics, Badger Sports, Gildan, Pacific, Ogio, and many more. At LTS, screen printing embroidery is done in-house and we guarantee customer satisfaction. Stop by, give us a call, or check us out on the web at shoplts.com. Remember the name, LTS.
Hi, Matt Wilkerson here, your mobile Verizon rep. But not just here, I'll deliver the phone to you in your home. While I'm there, I'll only sell you what you need and I'll personalize it to you. Want to have me get you connected? Then call me at 352-528-0020. I even offer unlimited home phone service for just $20 per month. Just call me, your mobile Verizon rep, at 352-528-0020.
All right, 20 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. On the phone is Dr. Kenneth Liegner up in upstate. I guess you call that, what do you call Pauling? Is that considered upstate New York?
Pauling.
Yeah, Pauling, I know.
It depends where you live. If you're in New York City, if you're in Syracuse, it's downstate.
There you go. That's absolutely true. In the Crucible of Chronic Lyme Disease, I heard you during the break telling Robin that this has a lot of work into it. I want the audience to know this might be the biggest book we've ever had to talk about here. It is huge.
And thorough.
852 pages. I just turned to the back real quickly. Is this for the layperson or for the doctor or both?
I would say it's for any person who has a serious interest in Lyme. I don't think it's going to be a bestseller. It's not, like a popular, for a popular audience. It's got to be somebody who really wants to learn in depth what's been going on in Lyme world and about tick-borne diseases. But I think for those who have that interest, it'll be worthwhile.
I want to take a phone call, but if on the other side of the phone call, I'll give you something to kind of think before we get there, just to ask you if there was something maybe in your history that got this started for you. There must have been some reason this was a passion, but I shouldn't have asked you until I got there, but give me time to think about it. Let me get to the phone. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Yes. Good morning,
Hey
doctor. If you find a tick on your body after taking, let's say, your dog for a walk in the woods, how long does that tick have to be on your body before it can transfer the Lyme disease to you? And if you would pick that tick off your body, could you take that to your doctor, and could they tell by looking at that or testing that tick if it would give you Lyme disease?
Those are great questions, and like a lot of things in Lyme disease, there's a lot of different opinions about how long it takes to transmit Lyme disease. There have been some studies in a mouse model that suggests that the risk is definitely higher if it's been attached for, say, greater than 24 hours, 36 hours, or 48 hours. But nobody knows what time zero is to transmit spirochetes. And there are reported cases in the literature of development of the Lyme rash with tick attachments of no more than 4 hours. And but there's a lot of controversy about that. And some public health people are promoting the notion, well, if you remove it by before 24 hours, you're safe. And I just don't think that is true from my experience. If you, of course, as soon as you remove it, as soon as you discover a tick, one should remove it as soon as possible, because the sooner you remove it, you remove the risk. And then the question is, what do you do after you've removed a tick? And this is another area of controversy. Some people think you should watch and wait until you develop symptoms or a rash. Some people feel that preventive treatment is justifiable. And again, there's a lot of different opinions. My own personal opinion, considering that these ticks, or many of these ticks, carry very, very dangerous diseases, my own personal feeling is it's justifiable to treat preventively, as long as the patient is aware of the risks and the benefits and the unknowns, and you try to take measures to avoid complications of the antibiotic treatment. Ticks can be identified. Some physicians are more knowledgeable than others about the type of tick. Once the tick has fed and engorged, it's not so easy to know what kind of a tick it is unless you are an expert. There are a number of laboratories that can identify the ticks, and furthermore, if you were motivated to do so, they can test the ticks to try to find out what pathogens they have. There are commercial labs that do that. There's also University of Massachusetts Amherst has a lab there. Department of Zoology has an excellent lab. The Connecticut Medical Veterinary Lab, which is part of the University of Connecticut, has a laboratory. Probably if you Google, tick testing, a lot of these labs would come up. Such tests are somewhat costly, and also one problem with the testing, it's nice to know what the ticks have, but by the time the results get back to you, if you wait to find out what they have, you've kind of missed your golden opportunity, so to speak, to prevent the diseases by treating preventively.
Oh, wow. So now Robin mentioned that you had said that Florida is not known for Lyme disease, even though her sister-in-law had it?
Yeah.
What is the story there? I know you said earlier that it's everywhere, but...
Well, that was tongue-in-cheek, Larry.
Oh, okay. So there's plenty of it here.
Well, the dogma that unfortunately the Centers for Disease Control has promoted is that there's... Well, they say that every day. Well, we don't have Lyme disease here. There's no Lyme in this state. But when things are really studied properly and in depth, that's not the case. And
okay.
There's been excellent work by Kerry Clark, who's at one of the Florida universities, studying ticks. Him and his coworkers have demonstrated that not only is Lyme disease present in Florida, but there are many other Borrelia variants that, strictly speaking, they're not Lyme, but they are Lyme-like. So, there's a lot that we have yet to learn about ticks, the diseases they carry.
Wow.
But there definitely is Lyme in Florida.
Let me take another phone call. Thank you for calling. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes. Now, I might have missed the segment, but does anybody say anything about, is Lyme disease a worse epidemic than the Zika that they're talking about, which just started?
Good question.
Is Lyme worse than Zika?
Well, Zika is a very, very serious disease, and I think it does deserve the attention that it's getting. By the numbers in the States, Zika is practically non-existent, and the cases that have been found so far have been from people returning from areas where Zika is known to be present in the mosquitoes. There is a great concern that that the mosquitoes carrying Zika will begin to migrate into the southern parts of the United States and then become endemic here. By the case numbers, it's hardly even a ripple. Whereas Lyme, it's been the CDC within the last year or two increased its estimates of the annual number of cases. They used to say it was about 30,000 a year, but now they've increased it to saying that it's at least 300,000 new cases each year. And so that translates, remember Lyme has been around, and been tracked for about 30 years. Got to be many hundreds of thousands or even millions of cases of Lyme that have already been diagnosed in the country. And it's a growing epidemic. So in my opinion, it's a major health crisis that's having a major impact on the populace. It can be very, very debilitating, and does have the potential to be deadly as well.
And I mentioned something earlier about politics regarding this, and you mentioned something about, you obviously need money in order to do these things, to treat the deer. Is there anything we can do as citizens? I know we've only got a minute left, but can we write like our local legislators and say, hey, we need to do something about the deer and get a hold of this acaricide?
Yes, actually, the Lyme advocacy and the general population, the amount of funding that Lyme gets is ridiculously low, okay? For HIV/AIDS, $2 to $3 billion a year, every year for the past 30 years. Lyme disease, maybe $20 million a year. It's pathetic. It's completely inadequate. I have called for, and others have called for, what I termed a, quote, Manhattan Project for tick-borne diseases.
Wow. I have a copy of the book. It's huge, and it's very informative. Share it with everybody you know and your doctor. And
Marvelous.
In the Crucible of Chronic Lyme Disease, written by Kenneth B. Liegner, Liegner. So call me if you want the copy that was sent to us. The rest of us have to go buy it. Real quickly, do you have a website?
Yeah, it's available exclusively through the publisher, which is xlibris.com.
Okay. The letter X, LIBRIS.com. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Very interesting stuff. And thank you for your work. It's hugely important as far as we can tell. Thank you. We'll be right back.
Donald Trump has reached the number of delegates needed to secure the party's presidential nomination. You've likely heard about the long wait lines at some of the country's airports. Now we're learning how many passengers missed flights this year at just one airline.
Year to date, more than 70,000 American Airlines customers have missed flights due to excessive wait times.
Carrie Filipovich with American Airlines. She's testifying on Capitol Hill. And the goal